Hello, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Shanette, and it is such an honor to have you here today. Thank you so much for being a returning subscriber. If you are, and if you are new here to my channel, warm welcome to you. You are absolutely welcome to join the Babe community. Babe stands for being accountable, bold, and evolved. Let's get right into today's video. So today's video is all about my journey. I have this question, I'll put it up on screen, that says, your journey and where you started and how you started and now, which is quite a long story, but I'm going to do my best to summarize this. So with regards to my career, where you started, I started well, when I was 2 years old. I started modeling when I was 2 years old. I literally have home videos of me modeling, posing, doing the most at 2. And I've always kind of like just been a model ever since. You know, they say you shouldn't wait to be something. You should be that something. And it's like in that 3 orders. Like, please forgive me if I butcher this, but it's like instead of doing something and having something and then being something, or having something and doing something and then being something, you be that something and then you have the something and then you do the something, or you be the something and then you do the something and then you have the something. But it's important to be, right? Embody basically what it is that you desire first. And I've always embodied being a model, so that is why I've been modeling since the age of 2. And then my first like official fashion show was, I think, when I was like maybe 9 or 10. And that was fun. They had like 3 different rounds and you had to do different outfits. So we had like the first round, which was like Bollywood. And then I think, no, first round was like casual wear. And then second round was like Bollywood. And third round was swimwear. It was so much of fun. And I just remember like having so much of fun with my mom, like in preparation and even in rehearsals. And yeah, so that was my first ever fashion show. And then I moved to Oman and I signed with a modeling agency, and like it was just cricket sounds. Like this lady would like like ghost me for real. And like she'd like randomly message me and then I'd respond, and then she'd like take like 17 years to respond. Obviously that's an exaggeration, but yeah, it was like a whole lot of like cricket sounds basically. And I was super excited to start my modeling career because before I left South Africa, I had a conversation with my mom and I was like, I'm gonna do modeling. She was like, yeah, I'll support you. And I was super ready, you know. I'd practice with my cousin because she was also a model, and my mom actually was also a model in her younger years. And I was just ready for this. Like it felt natural to me. And then there was kind of like bumps in the road, and it didn't happen like super smooth or like just like effortlessly as I would have hoped. But in the end, I had finally got a fashion show with my modeling agency. And I remember Instagram being like one of my main forms of like receiving contact from different photographers and designers, makeup artists, clients, basically, right? And bro, like after my fashion show, my Instagram started blowing up. Like people were like, let's do a photo shoot. But a lot of them weren't like offering paid work. And I don't know if it's because of the way I was representing myself, or like I don't know what the vibe was. But basically a lot of them were looking for collaborations. And like in my mind, I was like, what? Like, I absolutely would love to do a collaboration because this is an established photographer and I'm still establishing myself. I barely have any pictures, like, besides the amazing selfies. Oh, yes. And like photo shoots that I've done on my own. So, just shortly after the fashion show, one of like the bigger photographers in Oman offered to do a collaboration shoot with me, and my agency found out about it. Bear in mind, when you have a modeling agency, you have to give 20% of whatever you make to the agency, and they have to be aware of like the work that you're doing. So in my mind, I didn't feel like I needed to like give my agency a heads up about the shoot, because first of all she was flaky, like she barely replied in any way. So it was like, what's the point of like even trying to message this lady when she doesn't even reply when I actually need to tell her something? But I didn't even like think that far. It was just like, it wasn't paid, so it didn't even cross my mind. Anyways, this lady messaged me and she was like, you shouldn't be doing photo shoots, da 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 da. And you're supposed to give us a percentage, like all this stuff. But like the way she approached me, like it was like, ask if you don't know something, ask instead of assuming, and like come at me like in a respectful way. In that moment I had my back and I was like, there's a way to speak, and like I won't tolerate like people just like disrespecting me like this for no reason, because I mean, like in our contract I didn't do anything against the thing, blah blah blah. Long story short, I ended up representing myself. I ended up um being like, please can we just end this contract, and I ended the contract with that agency because I just felt like, anyways, unprofessional, flaky. Like a lot of the girls in my first fashion show was like saying a lot of like stuff that this lady was saying about the models, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt, like regardless of what everyone's saying. Like I hear them, but I'm gonna like let her show me who she is versus like take what they say and like just be like, oh yeah, that's how she is. But when she tried to come at me with that like same energy, I was like, no, excuse me, but we don't do that here. Hey, no. I don't know where I got that I don't know where I got that accent from, but um so from there I started representing myself. I used my Instagram to post my shoots, and then from there I'd put my number directly on Instagram and be like, call me for work. And best believe, like, you message me, you be like, I give you like 3 messages. Like this is my rule, right? I give you 3 messages. So first message, like, hey, I'll be like, hey, how are you doing? I'll not even I'll be like, hey, who's this? From there it's like, okay, if it genuinely is a client, then they give me the brief and we kind of go from there. We do a call and I move from there, send them some of my pictures, whatever, and give them my rate. Find out the hours, find out the dates, see if I'm available, then them my rate, and then we kind of go from there. You Let me just say, my block list was very long, because it's like within that 3 messages, if they don't like actually come like at me with a proposal, blocked. And I advise, like, if you are like still using Instagram to market yourself, then definitely use that tactic, because it helps, instead of like having this long drawn out question like conversation with like a bunch of people. Like, time is money, time is valuable. So yeah, so then I basically from there started modeling, and modeling was doing really well. I was having so much fun. Like playing dress up, getting to go to this place and see new places, meet amazing people, learn more Arabic, because I had to obviously speak more Arabic because of the place that I was living in, and just like sustain myself. Like, oh, it was amazing. So after that, I got to a point in my life where I kind of felt like, okay, um, I, I don't know, like somehow I kind of like fell into like recruiting. So it's like, okay, there's this job. Then I'd be like, okay, I know someone. There's this girl. Then I started creating like portfolios for people. So I'd be like, okay, send me your information. And then like, especially like if it's like bigger clients like banks or whatever, right? You don't just like send your pictures or stuff, like you put together portfolios. So I was working with other people that were recruiting, and I started putting together portfolios, putting together their images, their ages, everything on there, like one thing, the professional, and basically started earning like an extra like commission or whatever for just like putting that together. And that I was like doing for someone else. And I was like, oh my god, like I could do this on my own. Like I could actually start managing models. So basically from there I created a group and I started I started basically sharing work in there, because I felt like if I'm going to share work in this model group, then they potentially would also share like if they have work, which was cool because it benefited me as well. Because while I was managing, still definitely modeling full time, and that was my source of income, like to earn a living. So it definitely benefited me as well. So from there, like I started, um, yeah, I started this group, and then I started managing models and events as well. So instead of just going there and modeling, I'd model and also handle the models and make sure that everything runs smoothly. Um, and like I flourished at that. It was freaking amazing. I really enjoyed it. And then I started working with an influencer at the time that was in Oman, and she basically was looking for someone to handle her PR and communications. And so I took on that role. Basically, I knew nothing about PR and communications, but I had an office in my apartment, and best believe I went and Googled everything under the sun to do with PR and communication. Anyways, long story short, I worked with this lady and basically helped her get work and all this stuff. But the reason I'm mentioning her isn't really so much because of that. I'm mentioning her mostly because one day we were outside sitting in the car of a client, and she asked me, so she was like, so Shanette, like you've been through abuse, you've been bullied. How are you so confident living in a completely different country? And up until that point, I didn't really realize that because I'm one of those people that's kind of like on the go, 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 just like take whatever comes and like just keep moving with that. But when she asked me that, like I took a moment and I was like, oh, you know? I was like, oh my word, yeah. I am. I have actually been through quite a bit, and like because she was like, you have this positive outlook on life, and like where do you get this confidence from, like after everything? And I can just say like all glory to Yahuwah, because it was like this small still voice in my head that always told me like there's more for you. And like every time I would feel at my lowest, and like I remember like one time specifically where I was just like crying and feeling like just so broken in that moment. And I remember that small voice telling me in that moment, there's more. And like I didn't know like how to explain that comfort that I felt, but like that comfort I felt was unmatched. And I was just like, okay. I didn't know where, how, when, but I was like, okay, yeah. And I took that to be true, and I kept that with me, and I just like kept moving. And I can just say like, people say like time heals. I can say Yahuwah healed me. Yahuwah guided me. He's the one that deserves all the glory, right? So from there, I basically went home and like started writing. I still have this notebook. It's literally like right here in front of me, like this huge notebook. I just started writing, and I decided like I was gonna start this movement called "Let Your Voice Be Heard," and I was going to use my story to share with people that you can go through challenges, but you can come out of those challenges. Those challenges don't have to be like they don't have to define you. It's like just because you go through stuff that's difficult doesn't mean that that's where you have to just stay for the rest of your life. Doesn't mean that if you are like if you have been raped, or if you were physically assaulted, or whatever it may be, like that doesn't mean that that is like your beginning and the end of your story. At the end of the day, like I just realized that we get to also like be a part of creating our reality. And sometimes that also means looking inside our mind and seeing what are we saying to ourselves. um because I feel like that, like believing that there's more for me, that is almost like like I don't know how to say, but like almost like a golden ticket to a child's imagination, because children's imagination is like so vast, right? They can think of anything and have like a clear picture. And sometimes as adults, like we maybe sometimes could use that practice, but it's like having faith is what almost gave me that golden ticket to my imagination being like my imagination being so vast, and knowing that, or not knowing, basically like having that like anything is possible type of attitude, and like, oh yeah, even though this happened, anything is still possible, you know. So from there, I just like I didn't really know how to go about having a movement, like who to talk to, like, you know, like how to like officially get it started, or like what to do. All I did was speak to anyone and everyone that would listen to me, share my story with them, and ask them one specific question. And this question is actually what unlocked basically this whole journey of me becoming a transformational mindset coach. I would ask them, what do you do that when you're doing it, you feel fulfilled? And like I would get so many different responses from people. Some people would say that the job that they're doing, they feel fulfilled doing it. Some people would say they feel fulfilled doing something completely different from what they studied. Some people would say they feel fulfilled doing something completely different from where they are currently in their life. And I would always like find so much of joy in comforting the people that felt that what they were doing at the moment wasn't something that they felt fulfilled doing. Because I would say to them that, and I'm saying this to you as well, that where you are right now is also exactly where you're supposed to be. There's questions you need to ask, there's lessons that you need to learn. And this experience that you are now, it's amazing that you are here, even though maybe you see more for your life. But it's also like, don't get stuck there. Learn what you need to learn, figure out what you need to figure out, and start creating action steps to where you'd like to go. And I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on that, but I'd like to maybe do that in another video. So if you'd like me to, let me know in the comments below, because that's something like I feel I have still a lot to say on. But like obviously there's also this question that I'm currently answering that's also a lot to say on. So without like going too deep into that, um, basically what I'm saying is, if you feel fulfilled doing what you're currently doing, that is absolutely amazing. If you still figuring out what you do that makes you feel fulfilled, that's amazing too. Because at the end of the day, we are all on a journey. And what I was speaking to somebody close to me recently about is that comparing ourselves to anyone else's journey always ends up making us feel shit, right? So it's like, instead of comparing yourself to anyone's journey and where you think they are and what you think you where you should be, just focus on where you are and what you can be grateful for, right? So basically from there, that movement, I started speaking to many different people. I started introducing myself as a confidence coach, because I felt like just being able to like speak to people, share my story, ask them stimulating questions, and just assist them in being a little bit more confident considered me as a confidence coach. And that in itself, like, girl, like, where do I get of calling myself a confidence coach when I didn't even study? That's what was going on in my mind. I was like, girl, you didn't even study. Like, where are you coming off with this confidence coaching? Blah, blah, blah. Right. But I believe that's what I was, and that is what I am. But I just kind of like fine tuned a little bit more into transformational mindset coaching, because I felt that confidence coaching is amazing. But it's like, there's, when I actually did study, I realized that there's a few more topics that I believe will add value to people's lives, you know, like our relationships that we have in our lives. I like the idea of also being able to incorporate that. And so with being a transformational mindset coach, there's a lot of different aspects that go into that, and all those topics that I do cover is topics that I personally enjoy, topics that I've personally experienced and expanded from, and had to go through quite challenging things to get to the knowledge that I have now. So basically from there I came back to South Africa. And so this is a little bit personal, but I'm going to share this with you guys because, like I said, we're on this journey of getting to know me and just, building this connection so that when I create more of the videos that I enjoy creating, you guys know who is coming from, right? It's not just this person telling you, like, oh, this is what you should do. Like, that's like my vibe is to be like, bro, this is what happened to me. This is what I learned. This is, the things that helped me, and pray that it helps you type of energy. So came back to South Africa, and someone like really close to me was putting me down, kind of, like just questioning everything that I've done in a negative sense. Those like type of questions where it's like not necessarily questions. Like they ask you a question, but they don't even give you a chance to answer the question before they already telling you what you did, but they weren't even there type of questions. Ugh. Anyways, so that was the case. And that broke me a bit because, like, it's like difficult when you really like love someone, and like that's the type of energy that they're coming at you with, and you've never like experienced that before, so you don't really know like how to even like navigate that. Like, what are you even supposed to say? Because it's like, I don't know, I didn't know what to say. um So I asked somebody else that's like really close to me, that's actually like supported me and like seen what I've been doing with my life, my journey, every step of the way. And they were like, no, Shanette, like, girl, this is what you're good at. You're good at modeling, you're good at coaching, you're good at makeup. So just keep doing what you're doing. But at the time I was living with this person, and not the person that supported me, the other person that was asking me all these things and like making me feel like, like my existence was just not enough, not valid, right? So um at the time I got an opportunity to go abroad to do waitressing, and I was like, I have no interest in doing waitressing. I just spent the past 5 years modeling abroad, managing other models, freaking building a movement, finding myself, like living my best life, traveling, because I didn't mention the traveling part, but like that didn't really, actually that does, that does correlate with my work. I should have said that too. Yeah. I was traveling as well. Like eventually I got to a point where, like, I'm gonna get back to the story, but let's just go to that story quickly. So yeah, I was modeling and traveling, so basically I got to a point where um I had a great social life. I had my own apartment, I was working, I had savings, and I thought to myself, like, like living in Oman, I was basically obviously paying to live there, right? Because I'm a foreigner, whatever, paying for visa, paying for accommodation, paying for everything that you need to sustain yourself. I was covering on my own, right? So I got to a point where I was like, bro, like, this is your first time that you traveled, and like you're living abroad alone, which is freaking amazing. But like you also living in a country that's like one of the like top three highest currencies in the world. So that means the money that you're earning here, like you can easily go and travel. So I was like, bro, I'm gonna go travel. Like I'm making all this money like monthly for rent and all these other expenses. Like I said, like instead of taking that money and like spending that towards like all those expenses, like let me feed my soul, because I was craving adventure. I was like, let me feed my soul and let me just start going and traveling. and I started traveling. And like it was just amazing how I can say full glory to Yahuwah. He opened doors for me to even like be modeling abroad and like taking my career to new levels even because like modeling in Oman was amazing. I absolutely enjoyed it. I grew so much. I really established myself. I learned how to manage myself. I learned how to manage other people. I found my voice. Like there was so many like oh beautiful highs, right? And like for me to like travel and like go to a new level, like start working with even bigger brands and be able to go like island hopping and like oh all glory to you once again, right? So coming back, so eventually after traveling blah blah, blah, I got to a point where I was like, oh, I just like I'm so tired of like introducing myself to people, to new people. I'd like to just like be around people that know me. Came home, bro, I wasn't the same person. So I was there out there introducing myself, but like that just reminded me to take my own advice, to be grateful for where you are. And I think that's like a lesson that's like coming up recently a lot with me. It's like be grateful for where you are. Because now when I look back, I was like, that's what I desired, right? But I didn't really even pray about it. Like I didn't even really pray about like I was praying like God, please, like let me go back home. But like like that, like when I learned now like how to even be praying, it's like thank God for where you are and pray for his will because that's the best. Anyways, um, I'm saying all that because imagine like strangers were more eager to know who I was, right? Versus like the people that like the one specific person that I was referring to that was asking me those questions in a negative light, that like was asking me questions but didn't really care to know who I was like already telling me who I was and what I did and what I need to do, you know? And yeah, like it's just a cool reminder for me, like just be grateful for where you are because like sometimes people force things because I'm telling you like everything was not working out for me to come back. It was like I was forcing my way to come back and it was like no bro, like what like no. And I was like no, like I want to go back home, like I just want to be around my family. Anyways, I was very grateful to eventually get to spend time with my family that I do love and appreciate so much. Um, but getting back to the opportunities, I got this opportunity to basically break free, get out of this space of like this person like continuously putting me down, making me feel like my existence is like not valid, whatever, blah blah blah, right? And it was a waitressing opportunity. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, I had no desire whatsoever. But at that point in my life, I already had that energy of like being like, you know what, Yahuwah, it's your will versus my will. And I prayed about should I go or not, and I got confirmation that I should go. So I went. But like, like this, my explaining my journey to you, like there's been a lot of highs, but this is kind of where there was quite a few lows, right? So I feel like this is the place when I went there is like where I was like genuinely tested as a person. Like, oh, oh goodness. First of all, I went there 2 weeks later than the rest of the people went there. So all the new staff that went there 2 weeks before me. So they kind of like formed cliques, bro. Felt like I was back at high school. Like I literally felt like I was back at high school, didn't fit in cliques, whatever, whatever, whatever. But this time I had a secret weapon, and that is being able to acknowledge how I feel, and sit with how I feel and breathe through how I feel. That, oh, honestly, that is like top tier, next level, right? So that was something like small that kind of like was something that happened in the beginning. And then later on, um, I just realized that all I desired to do was coach. Basically, to put coaching in a nutshell, I create a space where I'm able to facilitate asking questions that open people's mind. And that's basically coaching in a nutshell, right? So that's all I desired to do, was just be able to ask people questions and create that space for them to expand their mind. And it's like, as a waitress, like, where is there space to do that? Like, you need to be taking orders and like going. But I kept meeting all these interesting people, and I just desired to like be of service to them, but in a different way that I was. Because I was of service, obviously. Like, being a waitress, you definitely are of service. But it's like my heart was just, how do you say, yearning to be of service in a way that leaves them way different than they came in. Anyways, I told myself in the days that I just felt extremely low and I was just like feeling like I do not desire to be here, I just told myself to just take time and rest. A lot of moments I just felt like, oh, how many more hours till I get home? And I'd get home and I'd be tired and I'd sleep and I'd wake up the next morning and I'd do my best to like do something that kind of like inspires me, something that is for me, instead of just like waking up, getting ready, going to work, being at work, being tired, coming home, sleeping, waking up. Da, da, da. So I do my best to like surprise myself and like enjoy my mornings, make time for myself, steal time, any time in the day to just do something that like I feel like is helping me, helping my mind, helping me stay at peace, helping me stay sane. So even at work, I would just like any moment I'd get free, I'd go. And basically for me, what my escape was writing. So I'd go and I'd write. And sometimes I'd even write like the negative feelings that I was feeling and all the low thoughts that I was thinking in my mind. I'd write them and I'd read them and I'd breathe through them and I'd like rewrite them into an affirmation. And I started writing affirmations about, like, I started like changing everything that I was saying into like something positive, into something that was actually like feeling good to read out. And I'd always end up like going and writing and like feeling low and feeling horrible and like leaving feeling like, oh, okay, I can do this. I know that I'm here for a reason. I know that everything will work out. And I just like read the affirmations and it changed my whole mood, right? And then I'd keep on keeping on. But it got to a point one day where I was like, I just woke up and I was like, oh my goodness, like I just feel so tired. I feel like I need 2 weeks off. I mean, like from working 10 hours every day, like that's hectic, you know. So I just felt like, oh my God. I just said to my housemate, I was like, I desire 2 weeks of work. Not one day, not 2 days, three, 4, 2 weeks. And like we were just like haha laughing about it, whatever. Get to work and the manager was like, can everyone please come outside because we're about to do a staff meeting, whatever. So we go outside, they tell us that we are experiencing a virus that like we don't really know much about, but the whole entire, because I was working under one of like a big hotel, right? So the whole entire hotel was closing, um and I don't know, like it was just like weird, right? But like they said, this is the part, for 2 weeks we're closing. It didn't even click in my mind that like I just said that and then this happened, like it didn't even click. But I was, in my mind, I was just like, whoa, yeah, like, oh, 2 weeks, amazing. 2 weeks turned into 3 months. In that 3 months, I lived my best life. Um, so like a lot of people during COVID, I was Netflixing. So I started watching Gossip Girl. Anyways, that show is really toxic, but it was kind of interesting and it was keeping me going, whatever, right? So I remember watching Gossip Girl and whatever when I was just like on my Netflix buzz. So like one evening I was watching this movie. It's called Yes Man. And this movie is like everything this guy is just saying yes to. So I was like, I watched movies like, oh, cool movie. And I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe like let me try that. Like let me just see like what I say, like whatever opportunities, whatever comes my way. Let me just say yes. Let me just like see what happens, right? But like I didn't entertain it that much. In my mind, I was just like, yeah, cool, I'm gonna try. Next day, like I was watching Gossip Girl, but I was like, you know what, like so like not in the mood to just like watch like like directly like the episode like 6 and then 7. Like I was like, nah, let me choose like a random episode, put the episode on, and Chuck is having a yes day where he's saying yes to everything. So I was like, oh my word, that's so weird. Like I literally just watched this movie yesterday of this guy that's saying everything out today. Chuck is saying everything. Chuck is saying yes to everything. Now I feel like I like this is a message for me. Like I definitely need to try this. So then my aunt messaged me and she was like, hey, so a friend of mine, he's a coach and he's looking to coach someone. And I was like, oh, that's nice. She was like, I volunteered you. I sent your number. Like, would you be keen to do it though? It's like, yes, right? And then that was one. Another was like this other guy that I was initially supposed to be working with. He his prices was like sky high. Like when I saw he's also a coach. When I saw his prices, I was like, bro, like, whoa, like he's from the UK, right? And he's charges like he charges like insane amounts for his coaching. And I'm just like, yo, I'd really like to work with this coach. I really resonate with what he's saying, but like where am I supposed to get this money from? Because like what? Anyways, he's having a webinar and he said at the end of his webinar there's going to be a bonus. So I said yes to the webinar. I was like, yes, I'll go for the webinar. Then somebody tagged me on another coach's post, and this was like these people that like are not, they like people that ask me, they are not related, they do not have any idea about each other, they don't have any clue that like they exist. So this other person asked me to, no, she tagged me in a comment section of this guy's post where he says um, he's looking for Wonder women who are currently still on a personal development journey, but they would like to just like take it another step up, da 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 da, whatever. She tagged me, and his program that he was doing was paid, but old Reggie Hoa, I had savings at the time. So I was like, absolutely. And so I joined his program. The other coach that had that webinar, at the end of his webinar, the bonus was that you get to work with him, but at like a way, 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 way reduced rate. And I was like, absolutely yes. So I invested in that. I invested in the other coach. And then the other coach, with my aunt recommended me to do like as like, like help him basically because he was studying and he needed like clients to kind of like practice on whatever. I started working with him as well. He was actually the first coach I worked with. And funny story is when I first started working with the coach that my aunt recommended, we came up with a plan, right? So basically, what we do as coaches is we take a dream. So my dream was to be a certified coach, right? But I didn't know that that was my dream. I kind of like knew kind of what I'd like to do. I knew I'd like to do coaching. I knew like certain points, but like he helped me as we do as coaches. Like we ask questions to help people fine tune that like vision that they have to get it to specific steps and then like clearly articulate that so that you can hear it. So I was like, my dream was to be a certified coach by May 2019. 19, something like that, right? And so our next session when we met, oh no, wait first. So we came up with this 8-step plan. At the end of the plan, he was like, Shanette, do you think you can achieve your goal any other ways other than these 8 steps? And so I was like, yes. And he was like, how? And I was like, well, I don't know. But what I've seen in my life is that sometimes things don't work out exactly according to the way you plan them. Sometimes they work out even better. Sometimes they go completely different route. But I don't know how this would work other than these 8 steps. But like, yeah, I do believe that it's possible. So he was like, no, but you have to tell me like how. I was like, I don't know, but I know it's possible. In any case, after that is when my friend tagged me, and then that's when I saw the webinar. And so that's when I signed up. And I remember like getting ready one day, and I was thinking to myself, like, absolutely, yes, this is the right move for me. Because though I desire to be a certified coach, before I be a coach, I'd like to be the best human that I can be, the best woman that I can be, you know? And yeah, I remember speaking to him about it, and like when he found out that instead of me beginning my studies, me taking on 2 coaches, he didn't get that. He was like, why would you invest in you having 2 coaches when you're supposed to invest in you becoming certified? And I explained to him that I still looked at that as an investment. I still looked at me investing in me as an investment to the greater good of me becoming a certified coach. In any case, long story short, after working with those 2 coaches, I ended up studying. I became a certified coach, certified life coach, and from there I branched out into transformational mindset coaching. So that's kind of my journey and where I started and how I started, and now I'm gonna get to where I am now. So currently, I am a certified transformational mindset coach, and I am currently taking on new clients. I have 3 available spots that's ready to be filled. And then I also do have a free program that I've created that I will be posting about very soon. And that's kind of where I am with regards to coaching. With regards to modeling, I still do modeling. It's just a little bit more commercial now versus kind of like clothing and stuff, but I still very much open to all of that. It's just that I've been focusing more on the coaching side of things. And then I'm also studying business. So at the moment, like, of me being done with my coaching studies, like, I realized there's a lot more that goes into having a business, needing to know a lot more things regarding marketing. Like I was telling you guys in the other video, that's something that I'm currently like on that journey of like expanding my knowledge on, because like I could just see that being of benefit to me, right? So I'm currently busy with that. And now, like, just to dive in a little bit with regards to my personal journey, my personal development journey. Let me look at the question. So the question says your journey and where you started. Bro, I don't know where I started with my personal development. I don't know where it started, but I think that at whichever point that it started, I'm glad it did. Because when I look back at like old videos of just like the old me, like I feel like I loved me. I feel like I liked me. I feel like I loved me a little bit, but like the valuing me and like the honoring me and the respecting me, I think that came at like a later stage. I had to realize that the relationship that I have with myself is just as valuable, or even maybe even more than the relationships that we have, the outside relationships. You know, I feel like a lot of times people put so much of emphasis on the external relationships, and that was me. I feel like I was looking for a lot of things from other people, or from partners basically, that I was supposed to give myself, like figuring out what, instead of like figuring out what your partner likes and what they enjoy. I think it's important to figure out what you enjoy and what you like. Like that's something for me that kind of was like a revelation. And like where I am currently with my personal development, I have different days where I feel different things, you know. I The huge difference I would say, like from my journey then to my journey now, is when I say then, I'm talking about like my younger years, right? The huge difference is that because of a lot of things that happened in my life, I suppressed a lot, like to a point that I genuinely don't remember a lot of things that happened. And like that was like my defense mechanism of like making myself feel okay, whatever. And like I grew up hearing people say, I'm the type of person that keeps in until I just explode. And so I thought that was like honorable. Like I thought that was like that makes you like a great person. Like I thought that's a beautiful quality to have, you know, that makes you humble or something. But no, no, no. I realized that you actually have to deal with how you're feeling. You know, if you feel angry, if you feel sad, feel happy, whatever you feel, instead of like keeping it in, and eventually exploding one day, or maybe even getting sick, because your emotions can manifest as physical pain in your body. So instead of like letting things get to that point, like feeling. So the difference that I was talking about is that I actually allow myself to feel. I look at my emotions as my teacher, and I allow myself to be kind with how I'm feeling, you know? Because growing up, like, I would always hear people tell me, like, don't cry, don't cry. And so it was very difficult for me at a point in my life where, like, I would try to express myself, but then I'd end up crying. Then I'd get angry with myself for crying because then it's like I couldn't say what I'd like to say because I didn't desire to hear myself, like, speaking in that, like, crying voice, that I would just get so frustrated. And now when I look at like the way I deal with myself now, it's like completely different. Like if I cry, then I'm like a friend to myself. I'm kind to myself, and I'm like, what's going on? You know, like what is it that you're feeling right now? And like just that kindness, like really like shifted so much for me. And I like it's almost like I'm able to like articulate myself more clearer because of that, you know, instead of like fighting the emotion and being like, no, no, don't cry, don't cry. I'm like, why are you crying? Because like people cry for reasons, right? I would think people cry for reasons. Like sometimes they're feeling hurt, sometimes something upset them, sometimes they're having a hard time in it, like explaining what they're feeling, and it's overwhelming. And crying is a way of releasing. And like I decided like no, I'm gonna be the one to like put a stop to like saying to people like to stop crying. Like if someone cries, I'm like, I'll sometimes not even say anything. Like I'll just be there, you know, when they need to talk, I'll talk, or maybe comfort them. But it's like, yeah. And then another thing that I learned in my personal development from then till now, like I feel like I would say things to fill spaces of silence. And in my self development journey, I learned that silence is also valuable. Silence is also a part of a conversation. It's like there can be silence in a conversation without it being uncomfortable. I think you kind of have to get to a point of like confidence to be able to like just be comfortable in silence. And I think to like just close off this video, um, to touch on my self development journey, I was telling you like I am still very much on this journey. Like sometimes I just have to have a moment with myself where I'm just like figuring out like, like what am I feeling and how can I kind of like work on feeling better? Because sometimes, like, I don't know, like randomly, like just feeling overwhelmed or randomly different thoughts coming up or anxious feelings coming up or whatever. And normally, like prayer, reading scripture, like having those conversations with myself is my approach on navigating what's going on, or kind of like how to like sit in the emotion. Like, while my thing is like always like sit in how you feel, just don't like sleep there, don't stay there like forever, like just sit in how you feel and like keep it moving after that. Like it's always more powerful to feel how you feel and acknowledge how you feel and like take that approach than like being sad, but you like like pushing it to the side and you putting on this facade like that you're okay because you feel like other people is like going through stuff as well. And or maybe you just like different situations, like if you're at home and you feel like that and then you go to work and then you kind of have to just like be on whatever. It's like I get that too, and sometimes that does help, but some way somehow, excuse me, some way somehow take the time to actually sit with how you feel and be kind to yourself. Let me just see if I completely answered the question. So the question was your journey and where you started and how you started and now. I don't know how I started my personal journey, like I said, but I think it's just like the relationships in my life. Like I had to learn like what is acceptable and not acceptable for me. And I had to like basically set the tone for the other relationships in my life. And because I had to set the tone, I had to know what the tone was. So I had to like have these conversations with myself and like, have a relationship with me. Like something that I think is so pretty amazing is like when you like when you first start a relationship with someone and it's like you desire to know everything about them. Like, like what about this? Like what do you do? Finding out everything about them. It's like the same type of energy is like finding out everything about you, you know? And like that for me is I think like how it started. It's like I just like started giving that energy like I would give like to my partner. I started giving that energy to myself, like finding out with regards to me, like, and I think also like traveling was also a part of something that helped me also discover myself more because you in a completely different place. No one's going to tell you what to do. No one's going to tell you how to do it. No one's going to tell you who you are. They are on the journey themselves and they kind of like interested in getting to know you. And in the kind of like in the midst of you introducing yourself, you hearing like who you are and you hearing, because it's like the more you start explaining, the more you start having conversations and building connections, people would like to hear your perspective and your opinion on things. And it's like for me, that's more of like when I started hearing like, what does Shanae think about this topic? What is her perspective? What is her opinion? And then I would say also like for me, like what genuinely impacted my personal development is also reading scripture, because I feel like a lot of things that I kind of had perspectives and opinions on and all this stuff, like when I really like sat down and like looked at scripture, I saw that a lot of things in the world is like people, they don't really know actually what is like good. They kind of just like and when I say like people don't know, I'm talking about like adults. Like I mean, like for me, for some reason, I always thought like as a child, like I thought like yeah, adults know, they know. Like when I'm an adult, then I'm gonna know because like they know everything, well, they don't know everything, but they know basically like the main things. They kind of have the, how do you say, like the key to life. They have this, what is it, like book, what kind of book, like they have the score key of like what goes for what. And then like only when I started becoming an adult, like I realized like, no, actually people are allowed to have different perspectives, and people are allowed to like still be figuring things out even at whatever age that they may be. And people are always learning, well, if they're open to it, if they're open to learning, they're always learning. I'm always learning. I'm still learning. I feel like there's still so much to learn. Like, whoa, I'm so ready for that though. I'm ready for you to like expand my mind even more. Um, and yeah, like I like reading scripture definitely helped in my personal development of like having answers to questions that I've had in my life that I've asked that people didn't really have the answers for me. So that definitely gave me the clarity I was looking for and kind of like a way of life. And so yeah, basically you've come to the end of the video, and at this point I'd like to just thank you so much for taking the time to hear me out, taking the time to be here and just enjoy this conversation with me. Like I felt like I was just talking to a friend. And I've seen like a lot of people have been coming consistently. Like I've been consistent, and you guys have been consistently coming and supporting my video. And that genuinely means a lot to me. And I'd just like to say thank you so much. And I'd ask from you, if it's not too much, to please just like the video. And that just lets me know, like, yeah, you like what I'm speaking about. Maybe it resonates with you. Maybe you feel like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. Like someone else also kind of went through something like that with me. And if you'd like, leave me a comment as to what for you was the defining factor in your journey. Leave a comment in the comment section of a white heart if you've gotten to this point, just so I know you have. And if you are new, hopefully you enjoyed this video. And if you'd like to see more of this type of videos, then do subscribe. And it's been so much fun just making these content for you guys. And yeah, until my next video, much love to you. See you next week, Sunday.